In this tutorial, we're going to recreate the lifehack.org website using only free tools, the free version of the Neve theme and WordPress Gutenberg. And that's it. If you have any questions throughout this video, please leave them in the comments down below. We'll do the best we can to answer them. And also like this video if you like this kind of video. My name is Bjorn, all paths for Theme Owl. Make sure to click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos just like this. And we're getting started right now. This is the home page we're going to recreate today. We're going to do it using just free tools. We're going to use the Neve theme to create the header and the menu system at the top. We're going to use Gutenberg to create all the content in the middle for the home page. We're going to use MailPoet for our opt-in. That's a free WordPress plugin. And if we go down to the very bottom, we are going to use the Neve theme again for the footer, using the customizer to create those, the footer and the header in the customizer with the Neve theme. And we're going to get pretty darn close to what the original is. And we're starting with this, plain Jane, vanilla WordPress 2019 install. If we go into the back end and we go to appearance, we see we just have a 2019 theme and we're going to add a new theme. Go to add new and search for Neve. Nice, fast, lightweight theme. Great theme to use for pretty much any WordPress site you want to build. Click on install and then activate. Now we have the latest version of the Neve theme installed. Let's delete the 2019 theme. We don't need extra themes laying around in our WordPress installs. We can always go back and install it again if we need to. But we don't need to have them cluttering up our theme repository in the site. Going to close these notifications. Then we'll head over to plugins. WordPress comes pre-installed with Akismet and Hello Dolly. Akismet's a great plugin to use if you get a lot of spam comments. So if you anticipate that, or if you do already, try Akismet. It helps a lot. I use it on my own sites. It helps a lot for reducing spam. I'm going to delete them both in this case. Hello Dolly, I'm going to click on delete. It was deactivated, so I can delete it right away. Akismet, I have to deactivate it first, and then click on delete. And then we're going to add new. First plugin we're going to install is Otterblocks. Otterblocks is a great add-on for Gutenberg. We're going to need some of the modules it has to recreate the homepage content. Click on install now on Gutenberg Blocks by Otter, then click on activate. We can skip this setup. We can go back to plugins, go to add new again, and look up MailPoet. This is a nice little plugin that allows you to create newsletters and send them from your WordPress site. Or you can send them via SMTP, which means the mail goes from not your site, but somewhere else, a different email you're hosting somewhere else, which is the better way to do it. So I highly recommend using SMTP. We have a video on this channel linked to in the description down below and the card up above that'll give you more clarity on using an SMTP with MailPoet. So check out that video. I'm going to click on install now on version 3 of MailPoet. Then I will click on activate. Then I'll head into plugins and add new again. And I will install Optimal. Optimal will do all your image optimization for you. Images that are too large and not optimized to be loaded quickly are in fact the #1 reason websites load slowly. So you definitely want to optimize your images. If you aren't doing it yet, Optimal is a great choice. So check it out. I'm going to click on install now and then activate. And I'm just going to quickly connect my Optimal account to the website. You have to do that with an API key. I'm going to go to Media and then Optimal. You can click on Register an Email API if you don't have one yet. It'll autofill the email that's in your admin on the WordPress site under Settings and General. So that's the email that we pulled in here. You can change it to a different one if you need to. I'm going to click on I already have an API key, which I'm going to just copy and paste right into there. I'm going to log into my Optimal account and get that API key. And here it is right here. I'm just going to copy that back into here, paste it in, click on Connect to Optimal Service. You want to make sure you stay on this page until the connection is complete. And then once the connection is complete, you can leave this page and it'll start optimizing images on your site if you already have some. If you don't have images yet, it won't be doing a whole lot. But make sure you stay on this page until this connection is complete. That's all done. Now we can go into Appearance and Customize and start building our top menu, which is the one that we see right up here. Has a logo on the left, Start Here, Course, About, All. Has all these options under All. On the right hand side, get free practical tips, case studies, and quotes, and subscribe. So we're going to add those guys to our top menu right up here. Now to make our lives a bit easier, I'm just going to move these into separate windows so we can see both at the same time. So up above is the header we're recreating, and the one down below is our actual website. So if we head into header and then click on logo and site identity, we can upload the logo as the very first thing, which is the logo on the left-hand side here. I've downloaded all the images from the Lifehack website already, so I'm just going to upload them. You should be using your own images. Obviously, don't go to Lifehack and just download theirs unless you're just doing this locally and you're learning techniques. You don't want to have a live website where you copy theirs. So really the point of videos like this are to help you gain the techniques, to help you gain the knowledge to recreate these top-class, first-class websites, not just to copy them outright, because they do have copyrights and that can land you in hot water. So make sure you're not copying them. Just make sure you learn the techniques that I'm showing you. With that out of the way, let's click on Select Logo, and I'm going to select Files. I'm going to find our files, which are right here. I'm going to find my logo. It's this one here. We're going to upload the other images shortly, just not right now. I'll upload them in bulk later. But for now, let's do the logo on its own. Click on Select, click on Skip Cropping, and now we have our Lifehack logo appearing on the top left here. Now I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to change the site icon. The icon is what appears in the browser tab. By default, we have this little planet. I think that's a planet. And they have this little wrench inside a speech bubble, or nut and bolt, or something inside a speech bubble. So we're going to add that. I'm going to click on Site Icon and upload files and upload the icon file. Open that, click on Select, click on Skip Cropping, and we have our icon in place right here. Now the logo size I think is fine. I think that's good how it is. One thing that their site does is it stretches everything right to the edges. We want to do that too. So let's go back to the very top menu, go to Layout, go to Container, Default Container Style, Full Width, and let's just put up to 2000 because it goes right to the edge of their site. And this will go right up to the edge of our site up to 2000 pixels, which should be most monitor sizes. Let's go back into the header, back into the site identity. I'm going to show or stop showing site tagline and stop showing site title. They aren't showing up here anyway, but I like to remove it from here just to make things a little cleaner. Go to Layout, make sure we're aligned to the left, which we are. And now let's go and add a menu. Primary menu, click Primary Menu again. Click on Create New Menu. Let's call this Main Menu. Click on Next. Let's click on Add Items. And I'm going to call the first one Start Here. Click on Add, Course, Add, About, Add, All, Add. Now under All, we have a drop-down on their site. So let's see what their drop-down contains. It contains all of these guys: communication, fitness, food and drink, happiness, health, So let's add these to our site. Let's start with communication. I'm going to butcher the order: health and fitness. In fact, I'm going to butcher it all. Fitness, food and drink is correct. Happiness, health. Let's click on this one and change it to just fitness. And now let's add another one. Food and drink. Happiness. Health. I'm going to add the rest in that same method, that same way. I'm just going to fast forward so you don't have to watch me painfully go through that. Okay, there we go. We have all the pages in, and they're more or less the right order, but what they aren't yet is indented. Right now, they're all across the top. As we can see here, it is a mess. It's too many menu options in too small of a space. So we're going to add these as you drop down below all, like they have on Lifehack. To do that, all we have to do is on the left-hand side on our menu list here, indent the options we want to have in the drop-down. So I'm going to indent all of the options we just added under the all category. And if you watch closely on the right-hand side in the preview, we can watch them disappearing from the main menu as they're hidden in the drop-down. You'll want to make sure you don't indent 2 times because that would create a drop-down within the drop-down. It's possible, it's not a problem, it's just not what they've done on their website. So now we have all of these guys in place. If we hover over all, we see all of our options appearing right there. Nice and clean, simple to do. Now let's go back to our primary menu under header, primary menu. We're going to hide the search button because they don't have one on theirs. Let's click on this eyeball to hide it. Let's move the menu to the left. And now it's as far left as it can go, but it's not close enough to our logo yet. It's pretty far away compared to theirs. So we're going to shrink the logo space inside of our little editor at the bottom here and widen our menu space. Shrink this down even a little bit farther. And our menu. Now we're pretty close to what they have. One of the big things that's currently missing is a gap between the logo and the menu. So on the Layout tab, under the primary menu, we can add a margin to the left-hand side. Make sure you click on this link to make sure all the cells aren't linked. When they're linked, it means if you add a margin to one cell, it adds the same margin to all the other cells, which would not work right. So now I'll just click on the up arrow for the left margin, just to add it 1 pixel at a time until we're more or less how they have it. I think that's pretty close right there. And now we have our menu in place. We need to change the color as well. We have black. They have kind of a bluey blue. Let's call it that. Going to inspect one of the links to get the color. That should be it right there. Let's copy that. Let's go back into here. Go to Style. Change our item color to what we just copied. That's it right there. And when they hover, theirs goes black. Or kind of a dark gray. Very subtle change. Ours goes to a bright blue. So I'm going to paste in the item or the color we just added and just make this a little more gray. That's the active item. Should put this into hover and then see how that changes on hover. Not quite what they have. Theirs is a little darker. So just move this scroller right to the bottom. Just choose a darker gray. I think that's pretty good. You can also use the inspect tool that we used a moment ago to find the blue, to find the exact gray color if you wanted to, but I think we're pretty close here with that one. Now we want to add this call to action on the right-hand side of the menu. To do that, we have to shrink the primary menu. Let's shrink that space down that it uses. If you don't shrink it too far, your menu items will stay on one line. So make sure they're on one line. Then we're going to add HTML, like so. I'm just going to copy this text. Copying and pasting is easier than typing everything out. Click on the HTML widget, paste that text in there. Boom, it's in there. Layout, align to the right. Now we could use this button widget and drag and drop it in there to add a button to the right-hand side, the subscribe button. But I'm just going to add a text link. To add the link, I'm going to make sure I have the HTML widget selected. Go to General, and then add a link. It's pretty straightforward, the HTML used to make this. So I'm sure you can copy what I've written here and write that out yourself. I cannot paste this into the YouTube description because they don't allow these greater than and less than symbols. I'm going to add a pound for the link. I'm going to add a class of green button. We're going to use that in a minute to add some custom CSS to make our button look pretty much exactly like theirs. So this class will be what we use as what's called the selector. And in fact, when I say just a minute, I mean right now. So let's copy this. I'm not sure. Oh, there it is right there. Subscribe is just generic, super simple, not much going on. Let's go to our CSS, our additional CSS, and let's paste in our class. Now I'm going to paste in a block of CSS that you can get from the description down below, because for some reason CSS and the special characters it uses are allowed in YouTube comments or YouTube descriptions. So here's the CSS now, and again, it's right down below, and we have our button on the right, and it looks pretty much just like theirs. And I think for all intents and purposes, we've now recreated the life hack header. It's not 100% exact, but it is pretty darn close. And we could get even closer using more custom CSS, but I want to save you from using too much of it. Just use it as we need it and get our site as close as possible to what they have using our free tools. And now if we scroll down to the bottom, we're going to create the header. Sorry, the footer is at the bottom, not the header. So here's their footer. We're going to recreate their footer on our site here. It's going to reverse our alignment. So we have our footer at the bottom, their footer at the bottom. And so we have a workspace without having to flip back and forth. Makes it a lot easier. We can get pretty close to what they have using the Neve theme. It's not going to be 100%, but it's going to be pretty darn close. And before we get started on that, I'm going to click on Publish to make sure we save our work. If you do not publish, your work will be lost. So make sure you click the Publish and Update button as often as you can while you're working. Let's head back out here. Let's go to Footer. Now we have our footer components pop up. And we can add our content. So the copyright is at the very bottom. Let's add that. Let's just copy theirs. And click on Copyright. I'm just going to paste it right in between the paragraph tags. And it looks like so. I'm going to align that to the right. Their color is kind of a lightish bluish gray. The free version of the Neve theme doesn't allow for customization of colors, or not a lot of it in the footer elements. And I wanted to save you from using too much CSS. So I think this white is close enough to what they have. So let's just leave that. I'm going to shrink this down so it's just on the right side of the page. And I'm going to add a footer menu. I'm going to put it right there. Move the copyright over. We have our footer menu here. Click on that. And that will take us to our footer menu. We currently don't have one, so we're going to create one. Click on footer menu. Click on footer menu. We only have the main, as you can see. Let's click on create new menu. Let's call it footer legal. Click on next. Add items. First one's going to be terms and conditions. And the second one is going to be privacy policy. Let's see how that looks. Pretty good. It's a start. Let's go back into our footer settings. Under footer menu, let's scroll down so we can see what we're working on. We have ours in 2 columns. We want to have that stretched out into 1. So it's horizontal. We just do that by changing the width of our footer menu element, footer menu widget. Let's go to layout, make sure it's aligned to the left. Let's go to style. The item color, let's change it to white because our options for our copyright text is white as well. And there you have it. When you hover over theirs, what happens? Just underline doesn't change color. So let's do that for ours too. Oops, I misclicked. Click on this other pencil. There we go. Item hover color. Let's just keep that as white. Now when they hover, they just get the underline, just like theirs. So there we have our lower footer done. I'm going to click on Publish to publish that. Now in our second footer row, which is the top, the footer top, I'm going to drag in footer 1, put it right in there. And when we click on the footer 1, as opposed to a footer menu, it allows you to add widgets to it. Click on Add Widget. You can add any of these widgets you add here. And if you have plugins on your site that add more widgets, you can add that content here as well. For example, MailPoet 3. If you want to add a subscription form to your footer, you can do it using these footer options. The drawback of using menus inside of footer 1 or any of the footers that isn't the footer menu is the navigation menu is listed vertically, not horizontally. For example, let's add navigation menu. Let's choose our main menu. And we see our main menu is added vertically. It doesn't go horizontally. We can do it with custom CSS using floats and things like that, and it gets messy because floats are just messy things to work with in CSS. So I'm not going to use navigation menu in this case. I'm going to use custom HTML, and it's really simple HTML. It's just a link, which is like this, the word about, and there's our first link, just like they have theirs. Then I just copy and paste this a few times, or 2 times to be exact. Make this one become an author, and make this one contact us. Now these go to actual places, and the place they go to, the URL that they link to, is what replaces the hashtag. So you would send this to, for example, just use this website as an example, HTTP or HTTPS, the domain name / about, for example, could be the location of the about page. That's the link you would add in there. Really simple, not too complex. It's going to have a hashtag, so that page that this link to is not real. And because we want to make these look a little bit different, which in coder terms is called applying styles or using CSS, it's going to add another simple HTML tag called a div, which essentially just defines a section. So I'm going to have an opening div tag and a closing div tag. Opened here, closed here, going to add a class of footer links. Now I can use this class to add CSS, just like we did for the subscribe button at the top of the page. Let's copy that, go back to the top menu, go to additional CSS, paste in our footer link class, add in curly brackets, and let's make this footer links A, so we select the actual links. And let's add margin to the right. As you can see, it adds a little bit of space between the links. If we increase this to say 50, adds a lot of space. If we add it to 0, which is what we had before, they're too close together compared to what Lifehack has. So I think 10 pixels is pretty close to what they have, and we want to make the color of these links white. So let's make the color white. Let's make that important so it overwrites anything else. They're gone for now until we add a background color to this section, which we'll have to do with custom CSS as well. Again, copy and paste from the description down below. Super simple, but let's just quickly get the color back for now. And we want to add some margin to make these line up with each other. As you can see, they're aligned a little off. And our friends at Lifehack do not have that misalignment. So we're going to add margin left of 10 pixels. And that's pretty much it, right? Make that 12. There we go. Let's turn this back on by completing the word important. And now we have our text as white again, which again will change when we add a background color to this section, which will match the background color of the very bottom, which I believe is black or very dark gray in our case here. And then we will have our footer all the same color. Next, let's update the background color of our footer. So our section here has a background color that's not white, so we can see the words, and matches their color down below. So first, let's inspect our site in here. You can do this on the main site as you're viewing a live page with this, or you can do it inside of the customizer as well. Let's click on this one, and right here is the background color of this section. To prove it to you, let's just change that to red, and we see it is red. As you can see, as I'm typing things, it changes colors. It's predicting what I'd like it to be, and red makes it red. It is very bright. Either way, this is the CSS selector we want. So let's copy that. Let's paste that into our CSS section right here. And open and close curly brackets. I have 2 dots here. You want to make sure it's just 1 dot. Let's change this background color to what they have. Let's use our fancy color picker. Pick a color from web page. That's not working. Let's use it just as black. That's not right. Let's inspect it and pick the actual color, which is this one right here. Copy that. Paste that right here. And now we have the same background color as they do. We want to add that to this section right here as well. Here we see background color of white. So let's just copy the selector, add a comma, paste that right in there, and now we have our background color applied to both top and bottom. Close the inspectors for both. Now we see those colors match, and we're getting pretty close to the footer they have. Just need to add some space below these options right here. Footer links was the class we added to this section. So now if we just copy this footer links class, and again, just copy and paste from down below, I'm just explaining some of the stuff as I go. Margin bottom, 20 pixels. That's not enough. Let's make it 50. And there we have enough space there. Let's add some space to the top. Margin top of 20 pixels. That's looking pretty good. Then let's click on Publish to save our work. There are no free options that allows us to add social icons that look just like this to our footer. So I'm not going to add them right now. If you want me to add these, so I have a separate tutorial to show you how to add these using free options like HTML and CSS, please leave it in the comments down below that you want that, and I'll make that video happen. But as of right now, there are no free options for that, so we're just not going to add these for the time being. We are now done, our header and our footer. What we want to do is make sure our sidebar here is clear. So let's go back to the layout, go to Content Sidebar, select No Sidebar. Now the sidebar is gone. We can start creating our content that goes in the center. Click on Publish, click on X to leave the customizer. Let's take a look at our site, and there we have it. It's looking pretty darn good. Let's go back into our dashboard. Gonna go to Pages and Add New. Gonna name it Home. On the right hand side, I'm gonna choose Disable Title. Click on Publish, Publish again. Then I'm going to go to Settings and then Reading to make our homepage actually appear as the homepage. Right now on our homepage, we can see ready to publish your first post, get started here. This will become blank when I change this setting. Homepage displays a static page, choose Home, click on Save Changes, go back to the live site, refresh the homepage, it goes blank, and now we're going to be creating the actual homepage content. Let's go back into our dashboard, go to Pages, find our home page, which now conveniently has front page after it, then click on Edit. And now with Gutenberg, we're going to recreate, starting at the very top, this home page that we have here. We're going to do that using rows and sections, which is what we added the Gutenberg blocks by Otter for. It really helps us make sections and rows within sections really easily. So the first row we have this gentleman, Leon, and 3 columns. Leon's in one column, his signature and his name and his title are in another column, and the first column contains his text in this subscribe box. So we're going to create a 3-column section. So let's just add this 3 even column section, and in the first section we're going to add the title, the headline, which is this. So let's copy that. Let's click on the plus icon. Let's choose or search for heading and click on advanced heading, because that affords us a lot more options to customize the text. The options are on the right hand side. We want to add a heading color. The color has to be white, but now we can't see it, so that's not great. So we're going to add a background color, which is going to be pretty close to what they have. They have a gradient in the back. Might be able to replicate that more or less. If we click on the whole section, we can choose under Style a background type. Choose a gradient. That's not the gradient we want. Want to have a dark gray, and let's choose custom colors to make it a lighter gray. Something like that. Let's change the angle. Let's make that 180. And I'm going to change the custom color to make it a little bit closer to our original color, because theirs is quite subtle, their gradient. And now at least we have the ability to read our text, which is key. It's key. Let's copy this next piece of text. It's going to put things in place. They're going to customize them afterwards. So let's add this next piece also as a heading. Even though it won't technically be a heading, we want to have it as a heading. Paste that right in there, and it created itself as its own heading. Let's transform that to advanced heading. Let's delete this one. Sometimes when you paste things into Gutenberg or other editors, they kind of make decisions for you. Sometimes it's the wrong decision. Let's change this to a paragraph, and this is a second one. Let's change that to an advanced heading. Like I said about the wrong decisions, it converted this section of 2 paragraphs into its own 2 sections, which is fine. It's just not convenient, and you have to know it's doing that. And now you know that that's what it does. Change those to white, and this looks more or less terrible inside Gutenberg. But watch this. Let's go to Update, come back out here, refresh the page, and it doesn't look so bad because it stretches the whole page. Whereas inside Gutenberg, we don't have that ability to see it as a full width page. That's one of the major drawbacks of using Gutenberg, but it's a free tool and it works quite well once you get used to it. Next up, we're going to have his name as a signature, which is an image, and then his name written and his title. So let's just copy his name. We're going to add the image second. Advanced heading again. Paste it in there. Make it white. Let's make it an H4. Let's add another advanced heading. Type in here founder and CEO. Change that to H5. Make that a very light gray, just like they have it there. Gonna bold his name. It's bolded already. There we go. That's pretty good. I'm gonna make fine adjustments once we have all this stuff in place. Let's add an image, and let's make it his image, which is this one right here. Let's open that guy. There we have his image. Let's change the size to be 100%. And let's add the image of his signature up above his name and the title. I'm going to add a new section and then just move it up. New image section. Let's upload the image, which is this one right here. That's the signature. Just move that up by using the up arrow. Now I have that signature in place. I'm going to reduce the size to 25% and then update. Let's see how this looks on the front end. Come out here, refresh the page. I think that looks pretty solid. This image is a little too big, the signature, so let's shrink the size down to, let's say, 70. Update that, refresh. That's a lot better. Now what we have to do is adjust some spacing. As we can see, we're way too far to the left over here. Leon's too far to the right. There's a bunch of gray space down below here. Just need to adjust things to make it look more like theirs. Tighten it up a bit. So let's do that. First, let's shrink the column width of the signature column because it doesn't need to be as wide as it is. So when we hover over the sections, we see these vertical white lines appear. If you land right on one of them, it turns blue, and you can shrink the section right down to, I think 10% might be the smallest that I can get down to. Click on update and see how that looks. That's a lot better. Now before we make any more adjustments like adding padding and margin, we want to remove the existing padding and margin that all the widgets have added. Every time we add a column, a section, and certain elements within those columns and sections, they add their own padding. So let's remove all of that. If we click into the main section, go into margin and padding, we see we have padding of 20 added everywhere. Let's make that 0. Let's make our margin zeros as well. If we click into the first section, or the first column in the section, that also has 20 padding everywhere, and margin of 20 top and bottom. The second section, the second column, same thing. 0 those out. Third column, same thing. 0 those out. Update. Now on the front end, we have no more padding and margin, so we can work with a clean interface, so to speak, and move things around as we need to. So the first thing we'll move over is the entire section, the entire content to the right. So let's select this first column and add margin right of 300. So this doesn't look great in the back end, but there's really no way around it. You can choose this wider option. If you select on the main section, we have this option to make things wider. So if I get that back, this wide width option, that'll make things wider, but if you update and go to the front end, it will change it so it's contained like that. If you go to full width, it'll go to the full width of the page on the front end, but then you can't undo it in the back end. You can't get this menu back because you can't get back to it. It's a bug in Gutenberg. So I'm just gonna deselect this, keep it as default, which means it's gonna be full width by default. It's just not gonna look very great in the back end for working with, but we just have to deal with that as we go. So I'm gonna add some margin to the top of all these elements to move them down a bit. I'm gonna move them the first column down. The second column will be down a lot farther, so I'm going to add 75 pixels to the top. Click on update, see how that looks out here. That should go down even farther. Let's make that 275. Update. That looks a lot better. Let's change the margin down below the name to make that a little smaller gap so they're together. Go to advanced, padding, 25. Under the founder, go to advanced padding, make that 25.0, update. There we go, that's a bit better. We want to add some negative margin below Leon here to draw up that bottom. So the gray area is right flush with the bottom of his image. So let's click on his image and let's go to, actually let's click on the section that his image is in. There we go. Let's add a margin bottom of -33. Update. Refresh. And that's too much. Let's inspect. Let's get the exact number we need. Here's our margin bottom of 33. Let's just reduce that to where we're flush with the bottom. There we go. Looks like 23 is our magic number. 23, update. And let's check out what they have. They've got a bit more space for their title. Let's add a bit more space for our title too. Let's make that margin 40. Update, refresh. There we go. That's pretty darn good. I think we're getting there. We just need our opt-in. We're going to use MailPoet for that. We talked about MailPoet earlier. We installed the plugin. We haven't done much with it since. We're going to use it right now. Let's head over to MailPoet. This is the option it adds inside of WordPress. We're not going to go into great detail on how to use the plugin itself. There's another tutorial on this channel linked to in the description down below to help you with the MailPoet plugin. For now, I'm just going to create a form and add that form to our website. Let's go to MailPoet and then Forms. Let's add new. Let's call this header opt-in. Pretty good name. We're just going to have an email and a subscribe button. That's all they have. I'm going to click on Edit Display, and I'm going to type in here, enter your best email address, like they have. Enter your best email address. And I'm going to choose yes. And that will put that text inside of the field instead of having a label above the field. Click on Done. And there we have it right there. For the subscribe button, let's delete the exclamation mark. Click on Done. We're not going to set anything else over here. I'm going to go to Form Placement. Click on Shortcode. I'm going to copy this shortcode. Then I'm going to save this form. I'm going to head back into our page, our home page, click on Edit, and add the form right down below our content here, which Gutenberg is making difficult. Just temporarily, I'm going to remove this 300 margin, add a short code widget down here, paste in our form, and now add our 300 margin back in. Margin left of 300. Update. Come back out here. Refresh. Now we have our form right here. It didn't put the label inside. Not sure why. Let's go check on that. MailPoet Forms. Edit our new form. We call it header opt-in. I guess the save didn't actually work. Let's try that again. Edit display. Enter your best email. Choose yes. Done. Edit display. Subscribe without the exclamation. Done. Save. Have to select the list. That's why I didn't save. I gotta select the list here. I can choose My First List, which is auto-created by the plugin. It is where all the people who subscribe will be added when they opt in. So we have to add a list to make that savable. Let's click on Save. Come out here, refresh. And now we have those changes applied. And that's not how I want it to look. This is how I want it to look right here. Luckily, I've made some custom CSS. All you have to do is copy and paste it. We're going to copy and paste it right inside of here. If we go to Styles, I'm going to paste it right at the very bottom of this form. Now, something to note is the appearance of this form is not as bad as MailPoet would do it by default. MailPoet would, if you click on Preview, MailPoet would make it look like this, which doesn't look very good at all. But the theme, the Neve theme, has some custom CSS for forms that will make any generic form look a bit better by applying styles to it. This is how it would appear with the Neve theme, but we want to make it appear like so. So to do that, all we have to do is paste in this bit of CSS right here. Paste that in, click on Preview, and we see it looks a lot better. It's on 2 lines because this pop-up isn't big enough to show the width of our form. But if we click on Save and refresh out front, we see that that looks a whole lot better and a whole lot closer to what they have here. So now for all intents and purposes, we have our header section complete. And now we're going to move on to the next one. And this was really the hardest part, getting this header in place, because there's a lot of columns, a lot of adjustments of padding and margin, which Gutenberg makes a little more difficult than it could be. So that was the hardest section to do. All the rest are going to be pretty straightforward, especially the next one. We just add a row of logos to a gray background. Now the first thing I want to do is get this background color. Let's see if I can select it with the background color picker or the web page color picker. This sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Pretty hit or miss. I don't think that's the right color right now, that light blue. Going to inspect and just pick this color from the inspector. That's usually the most foolproof way of doing it. This is our color right here. I'm going to copy that, head back into our editor, and let's add a new section. I'm going to add a full width section. Inside of here, I'm going to add an image. I'm going to upload the image, and it is called logos. And it's just a row of logos. And they're all white, except for this little Harvard symbol. So we need to have a background color applied to this section. Click on these 6 dots. Let's go to Style, Background Type of Color. Choose a custom color. Paste in what we just copied. And now we see our logos here. Want to make sure that these are centered. Let's go to Align Center. And let's click on Update. And refresh out here. And our logos are in place. A little bit bigger than theirs. A little more padding and margin. The padding is the space between the logos and the edge of the element, so all the gray background, and the margin is this white background. So to make sure we don't have any of that, let's click on these 6 dots for the section again, go to Layout, go to Padding and Margin. Let's just have a padding of, let's see what they have. Let's make that maybe 10 for all those, and a margin top of 0, margin bottom of 0. And let's change the size of this image down to 50%. Click on Update. Refresh out here. 50% is a little too small, and we still have a little too much padding. So let's change that to 75%. And let's make this padding 0. Might be padding coming from somewhere else. There it is right there. Let's make that 0. 0, 0. Update. Refresh. There we go. Now I have our padding zeroed out. We still have some margin down below, which is created by the image itself. There's padding and margin coming from everywhere. Anyway, we can leave it there. Just need to add some more space to the top. So let's click on the section and let's add some padding to the top. Let's make it 25 pixels. Update. See how that looks? A little too much, and it added it everywhere. I have to click on this link to unselect it. So let's make this 0 again. Unselect it. Made it all 20. Let's just keep the top at 20 and make the rest nothing at all. Update. Refresh. Let's make a bottom of 0. Update. Refresh. There we go. That looks pretty good. Their logo is a little bit bigger, a little more space. Let's try to get a little more accurate. Let's make this 30. Let's make the size of these, make this 900 for the width. Don't have to adjust the height. It will expand as needed. There we go. I think that's getting closer to what they have. And you can tweak the minor things all day long. It could take forever to tweak it just right. But the point is that we have it pretty much how they have it, and I know how to do that. Next section, a white section with advertising. These ads are added by Google AdSense. That's out of the scope of this tutorial, so I'm just going to show you how to add the image to the page instead of adding the actual AdSense code, which you can find in other tutorials. So let's just go in here, add another section. Going to make it a full width section, and it's just going to have an image. I'm going to upload our ad images. There's 3 of them. Just going to add the first one actually, so we're going to only upload one at a time with that method. Click on Update, come out here, refresh. And here we have our ad. Let's center it, Let's get rid of some of the padding and margin. Update. There we go. I think that's pretty solid. And now let's add the next section, which is this nice big image on the left and this content on the right. So let's get this background color, inspect, and the background color is right here. Let's copy that. Let's add a 2-column section like that. Add a background color. Go to Style, Custom Color, paste that in. Nice background color. Click on plus, add an image. We want to upload this 4-pillar framework image. There it is. We want to copy the text. So let's just copy this. Let's close our inspector. Let's add a headline using the advanced heading. Going to keep it as an H2. Paste that in. Make it white. Done. Let's choose this content. Copy that. Add another advanced heading. Let's make it an H5. Paste that in. Let's make it blue. A little more subtle of a blue. There's is quite subtle. Let's copy this text. Make that an advanced heading as well. Let's make that a paragraph. Paste that in, make it white. Same thing for this one. Copy that. Advanced heading. Paste it in, change it to a paragraph. Make it white. Last one is a button. Learn More button, which has the same style as the button up here. Gutenberg Blocks by Otter gives you ability to add buttons to pages quite easily. So if I click on the plus here, if I choose button, there's an Otter option for button group. You can change the buttons to be just one or any number of buttons horizontally. And you can change the appearance to match this button exactly. And that's what we'll do. Instead of using the CSS that we had earlier for the header, we will use the Otter for Gutenberg option and create this button a little more hands-free, a little more easier, let's say. The text is learn more. So I'm going to just write in here, learn more. And the background color is a fancy green. Let's inspect that and see what that green is. There it is right there. Copy that. And let's go to, I think it's color and border, background, custom color, paste it in there. Piece of cake. Now we want to make it rounded. Go to border again. Border radius, let's make this 20. Let's make it 40. So it's a pill-shaped border. I just need to add some padding to make it a little wider. Go to padding. We want padding on the right and the left. Let's make it 50 on the right and the left. And the top and the bottom, we're going to reduce that a little bit. Let's make this 6. And let's increase this to 70. There we go. And let's make the text bold. And click on Update. See how this looks. I guess looking pretty good. Image is too big. Let's reduce the size of that. Click on the image. Let's make it 50%. Oops, not click that. Let's align it to the right. And click on Update and see how that looks. Getting better. We need to add some more margin to the right of this so it's not so wide. So I'm going to click on this whole column. We're going to add margin to the right. Let's make it 200. Let's see how that affects the front end. There we go. That did a pretty good job, I think. We don't quite have it on the exact same number of lines that they do, but we have mimicked exactly what they have and made our version of it. It's pretty darn close. So next up is this section right here. We have a nice background image and this content and color overlaid on the left-hand side. This is pretty much the same as we did here. We have a 2-column section just on the right-hand column. There is no image. We just have the image in the background and this content here. So let's do pretty much the exact same thing, but opposite. So let's click on plus, add a section. Let's make it 2 columns. Click on the 6 dots to add a background image under style. Choose an image, upload. And we want to have that be this background right here. Upload that. Then we have our background image. On the left side, we want to add this written content. Life above limitations. Let's copy that. Let's add an advanced heading, paste that in. Keep that as black. The expert course, copy that. I'll keep that as an H2. Paste in the expert course, make that an H5. Change the color to the one that we had up here. It's a custom color. Let's just copy it. Paste that right in there. Let's make it an H6. Didn't change anything. That's good. Okay, now let's copy this piece of text, advanced heading, paste that in, make it a paragraph. Copy the next one. Advanced heading, paste that in, make it a paragraph. Color stays black. This button is pretty much the exact same button as this, only it's blue. So I'm just going to come up here and duplicate this button and hopefully just drag and drop it over. Let's just drag it down here. Boop, right there. Let's get this color, inspect it. This is the color right here. Copy that. And then color and border, background color, paste it in there. And we have almost nailed it. What we don't have yet is this blue background. So this blue has some transparency and it's kind of a light-ish blue. So let's see if we can duplicate that. Let's head back into here. This whole column needs to have that background. So let's go to Style, Background Type of Color. And let's choose kind of a light-ish blue. Gonna have to guess because we can't get the exact blue. Well, maybe we can. Hang on, let's just inspect it. It's gonna say we couldn't get the exact blue because it has transparency, so the background color comes through, but there's the blue right here. This has an opacity applied to it. So this is the blue that they have. Unfortunately, we can't add opacity directly to this element for the background color, but we can add some custom CSS. Let's see if we can just add opacity of 0.85, which is what they had. Colon, update. Let's see how this looks on the front end. I think it looks pretty darn good. I think we almost nailed it in the first try. A few things we have to work on. The color of this text. Our button didn't have the right color applied. And see if we can move everything into the middle a little bit. So let's first work on this color here. Let's just make it a more blue. Let's just use this one. Our button down here. Our background color has a valid color, just not looking right. Let's try inspecting this button again. Maybe we got the wrong color for some reason. Here's the color, copy that, paste it in here, update, seems to have worked, refresh. Okay, those work a lot better. There we go. Let's remove the margin on the top. So let's go to the section and find out where we have this extra margin and padding. So let's change the margin top here to 0 and the bottom to 0. That should remove it from the section. If I come out here and refresh, it's still there. Maybe applied by this top piece. I don't think we've removed it from the section above. So let's go up to this section, into the section settings, padding and margin. There it is. Let's make the top 0 and bottom 0. Update. Refresh. Still a gap there. Let's also change the padding on this column. There's margin there as well. Margin and padding all over the place. Let's make those explicit zeros instead of just blank. Refresh. Nope, still there. Let's make these ones explicit zeros. Sometimes you have to do that. You can't just make them blank. You have to be explicit zeros. Update. Refresh. Now it's gone. There we go. I want to move this into the middle a little bit. Let's do that by adding padding to the column. Select the column. Let's add padding left. Let's make it, I don't know, 300. We're going to do that by adding margin to this column. Let's just make it margin left of, I don't know, 300. Click on update. See how that goes. I think that's pretty solid. I want to see if we can move this background image over to the right. We didn't add any or didn't do any background image adjustments. There are quite a few you can do. Click on the 6 dots to select the whole section. Under style, go to background settings. Let's make sure we have no repeat, background size, cover, and the default position. Let's just keep those as default right now. Click on update. Now we have the gentleman on the right hand side. How do they have it? A little bit different. He's a little bit bigger. Let's add some padding, top and bottom. Click on the overall section again, layout, padding. Let's click on the link and change the padding for the top and the bottom. Let's make it 60 on the top, 60 on the bottom. Update, refresh. Now we're seeing more of this guy. And we can keep on adding padding as needed and make adjustments with paddings and margins to make this appear just how they have it. But I don't think it's as important to have it exactly how they have it, because with Gutenberg it's really hard to do. But we at least see the techniques that we use to get there. And so I think we nailed that section with Gutenberg, no less. The next section is a testimonial section. So first you want to add what people are saying and more testimonials as its own section, and then add a 3-column section with these people and what they're actually saying. So let's copy this headline. Let's add a new section down below. Just make it a 1-column section. Let's add a heading. Let's make sure it's centered, and let's just keep it as an H2. Done. Next, this link, more testimonials. I'm just going to add a basic text widget, I think. Paragraph. Make sure it's centered. I just pasted that in. If it doesn't come in as a link, you can just select this unlink option, or if it's not a link, it would be a link option like this. Select the whole thing. There we go. If you just click on that, we can just make it a link. Let's make it a hashtag. And now we have our link right there. Easy peasy. Let's add the next section, which is going to be 3 columns. 3 even columns, and that will feature these posts from these fine people. First, let's choose Dr. Catherine Kane. Let's add an advanced heading. Let's make it a paragraph. And let's add her credentials. Copy those. Advanced heading again. I use advanced heading a lot, as you can tell, just because it gives you a lot of flexibility on what you can do with it. Now I know this is adding margin, I believe, down below. So go to advanced and reduce the margin below to 0. And this one as well. And then copy this. Let's bring that over into here. We'll choose advanced heading. Well, in this case, we use a paragraph. Let's paste that in there. And there we have the content done for that. We just need to add an image, which I guess is content as well. So let's just add an image wherever we can get a plus icon. Sometimes they can be hard to find. And there we go. Add an image. Click on Media Library so we can upload them all at once. Let's upload all 3 of these. Let's add this lady. Select, and there she is. Let's make her 50%, 25%. Make sure it's centered and move it to the top. And everything else is centered, or her title, her name and title are centered, and the text is left aligned. Let's make sure these are centered as well. Go to Style, Alignment Center, Style, Alignment Center. Let's update. Let's take a look at how this looks. So there we have our testimonial. I think it looks pretty solid. We can add some more padding. We took the margin actually away earlier. Let's just add that back in. Margin bottom of 25 for this testimonial, or for the credentials. So there's some space. Looks pretty darn good. I'm going to duplicate all these and just drag and drop them over. So I'm going to go to the image and click on duplicate and drop it right in there. I missed. Let's undo that. Drag it right in there. Duplicate the text. Drop it right in there. Duplicate the credentials. Drop it right in there. Duplicate the actual testimonial. Drop it right. Missed. Sometimes you miss. Gotta try again. Drop it right there. There we go. Now we're going to change this to Deb Lee. Change the credentials to this. And change the text to this. I don't think I can replace the image. Yes, I can. There we go. Let's add her in. I'm just going to fast forward for the next testimonial because you just saw how I did it. So I'll have to watch that in slow speed again. So here we go. There we go. I have all his content in there. Click on update. Click on refresh and see how those look. And I didn't scale down his image. It's absolutely massive. 25% for his image. Update and take a look at that again. There we go. That's much better. Got our nice testimonials all laid out nice and fancy. Got a lot of padding up here. Like I said before, adding sections adds padding all over the place. Just going to remove this padding and margin on the full section, and then this intersection has it as well. Update. Now it should be a little more palatable. It's a bit better. Let's add some margin to the top. Let's make that 30 pixels. Click on update. There we go. There we have our testimonials in place. Looking pretty darn good. Next up, we have an opt-in. We have an opt-in image and our opt-in call to action. And this right here is going to be another opt-in form from MailPoet. And right here, this is the only change. Instead of subscribe, it says get it now. So let's go back and add a 2-column section. Section, 2 columns. Just thinking maybe I could do it differently, but we're going to choose 2 columns. Let's add an image in here. Let's upload it, and it's going to be the motivation download image. There we have it. Let's make it 50%. It's quite large. I love Gutenberg and the overlapping of things. And by love, I mean don't love. Don't love how it does that. But Gutenberg is fairly new, so I have faith they're going to fix things and make them better. So let's just copy and paste all this content over into advanced headings. So we have more flexibility on how we can change them. Free download. Let's make this a paragraph. There we go. Update. Let's see how that looks. Scroll down. Let's change the background color of this to a very light gray. Let's inspect and see what that gray is. Like this gray is hard to find. So let's not find it. Let's just ballpark it. A nice light gray shouldn't be too hard to find. Style, background color. Whoops, let's try that again. Style, background color, and nice light gray. I think that's pretty good right there. Update. Let's add the shortcode for the opt-in form. You can use the same opt-in form as we have up here, and copy that shortcode is going to be a pain. We'll do it anyway. Reduce the margin from 300 to 0. Copy the shortcode and up that margin again to 300. There we go. It's a pain, but it's also a piece of cake, so it's no big deal. Let's add a shortcode, paste that in, update. See how this looks. Looking pretty darn good. Let's add some margin to the left of both of these. Let's make it padding, actually. So the first section, let's add padding to the left of 200. And the second column, let's add padding to the right of 200. Update. Refresh. Looks a lot better. And now this opt-in, you can go ahead and just duplicate the exact same method we used earlier. Just change the text to get it now. I'm not going to bore you with that again. It's the exact same as before. Just change it to get it now. And we already have the CSS in place, so you don't have to worry about the CSS. Just change the text to get it now, and you're done. Next section. Let's remove, before we go to the next section, remove the margin from this section. Top and bottom margins. And then from this column as well. And this column as well. Okay, next section is about Lifehack and Leon. This is a 2-column section with just the text on the right, nothing on the left, and a nice background image. Much like this section right up here. So let's start copying and pasting. So let's take the headline and a 2-column section. Right here, choose advanced heading, make an H2, make it white. Click on the 6 dots, click on style, click on image, upload a background image. It will be this one right here. Under the background image settings, let's change it to, keep the default position as it is for now, make it no repeat, and make it cover. And now let's copy more content or more written text. Make this advanced heading, paste it in, make it a paragraph, make it white. This is kind of a headline. Advanced heading, let's make it an H6 and blue. Advanced headline, make it a white paragraph. Advanced headline, paragraph white, and last one, advanced headline. Oops, added a paragraph. We don't want that. Undo. Undo. Advanced headline. Paragraph and white. There we go. Now the button might look familiar. It's the same button we made up above. So let's just duplicate that button and drag it down. Here's the button. Let's go to duplicate. Let's see if we can get it all the way down to the bottom of the page. Whoever invented duplication of elements on websites, It's an absolute genius. Saves a whole lot of time. And there we have it. Now the title of the button is Read Leon's Story. And I think the margin or the padding on the right and left is a little smaller than usual, or smaller than the other ones. Let's move this down to 40 for left and right padding. And because we know this is going to happen, let's just remove our margins right now. Remove the margin from the main section, remove the margin from the columns, and both columns. Then click on Update. Then click on Refresh. And now we have that in place, looking pretty good. We just want to move it over a little bit. So let's move it. This first column, the column with the text, we want to have padding left of, let's say, 200. Nope, that's on all of them. Click on the link to unlink them all. Padding left of 200. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty darn good. I think we nailed it. Nailed another one. Can I probably make that 250. And there. Nailed it even better. Now the last part, or the next part, I should say, is another ad. So it's going to copy and paste the ad section that we had up above. Let's just duplicate this. Click on the down arrows to bring it right down to the bottom of the page. And the background color here is a light gray, whereas before it was just white. And that's okay. We can do things like that. Let's just make this a really light gray. There we go. Update, refresh. Let's change our ad image just because we can and because we have other ad images that we downloaded from the site. Let's add this one. Select, put it in, update, refresh. There we go. Next section, latest articles, then another ad at the bottom. So for this, we're going to add another section for the headline and this piece of text. Then we're going to add another plugin called Advanced Gutenberg, free plugin. It's going to allow us to add our content, our recent posts, and lay it out much like they have here. So first, let's just create the section with this headline and the subheadline. So let's add a section. It will be a full width section. Let's add a heading, advanced heading. Of course, let's center that. Let's add another advanced heading. And add in this text right here. And there we go. Let's change this to H5. And now let's add Advanced Gutenberg. Is this plugin right here? It's in the WordPress repository. And we're going to add it after we update this page. And we're going to go to Plugins and Add New. And look up Advanced Gutenberg with a G on the end. There it is right there. Click on Install Now. And then click on Activate. And now without doing anything else, we have more options available to us inside the Gutenberg editor. Let's go back to our home page, Edit, and let's scroll down. Let's not scroll down actually. Let's click on the plus icon and look for Advanced Gutenberg right here. So we have all these options that are added now. And one of them, the one we're going to use, is called Recent Posts. But we have to have posts on the site to actually use this. We don't have any posts yet. Let's add some posts. Let's go to Posts, Add New. Just going to create simple demo content for the posts, nothing special. First one is going to be demo post number 1. And it's going to have a featured image. And that image will be this one right here. I'm just going to upload all the featured images. It's going to create 8 demo posts with all these featured images. And there we go, publish that. Add new, another post. Demo post number 2, featured image. This one. Publish, publish. I'm just going to fast forward. Same process for all of these. And there we go, lickety split. We have, excuse me, we have 8 demo posts on the site. So now let's go to, delete this one. There's 2 demo post number 1s, only need one of them. Let's go to pages and go to home, edit this home page. For some reason this width has changed. So that's earlier, I didn't change it though. So this home page looks like. Looks how it's supposed to. Okay, let's scroll down. And our latest article's headline is here. Let's remove the margin and padding. Let's remove all these. Let's just keep 20 at the top. And these sections on the inside, let's remove the margin and padding for those as well. There we go. Now let's add a new section. It's going to be a full width section. And it's going to contain this fancy new block we have called Recent Posts from Advanced Gutenberg. Let's add that in. Boom, look at that. There's all our demo posts pulled in. Now we want to have, let's see what they have, 4 across. So let's add number of columns, or change number of columns from 2 to 4. Let's change the number of items. We only have 8 in total, so that'll be fine. We have our featured image. We want to have the author, which is what they have. Remove the read more link. If we had an excerpt, it would display that. Let's remove that. Now we have our demo posts listed right here in the same fashion they do. They have different styling for the headline and the author name, which we can do with custom CSS as well. But again, we don't want to copy exactly what they have, so we're not going to do the exact CSS for that. But you get the point. This is how you can create a Gutenberg block where you pull in recent posts. And this would be auto-updated. Anytime you publish a new post, your new post would appear in this recent post block according to whatever your settings are. You can choose to display to certain categories. You can choose how to order them. You could have a different one of these block sections for every category on your site and have all kinds of new posts showing up on your homepage. This is how you would do that. Let's click on Update and see how it looks on our website. That looks pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. And the very last thing we have to do is add in another ad. So let's just come back up here. Let's duplicate this one. Duplicate. Move that down to the very bottom. Switch out the image to this one here, which in this case is an animated GIF. Look at that fancy motion right there. Click on Update. Go to the front end. Refresh the page. And now we have our nice ad down below. So now we've recreated almost exactly, using only free tools, the Lifehack website. There is some variation in the appearance. It is quite difficult, as you saw, to get it exactly like this using something like Gutenberg. Gutenberg is in its infancy. I think it'll get a lot better. But I think right here we're looking at the page we created, and I think it's pretty darn close. It's at least a very passable website using Gutenberg and just 2 plugins added to Gutenberg. Gutenberg Blocks by Otter and Advanced Gutenberg. And I think we did a pretty darn good job. So that's how it works. I hope this video helps you. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. And also like this video if it helps you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. My name is Bjorn Allpass for Theme Isle. Until next time, keep crushing it, and I will see you in the next video.